Hey, Sam.
Hey, Bev. How's it going over there?
It's holly jolly over here.
Woo! Like a holly jolly Christmas?
Kind of like that.
Or holly jolly because you just opened a beverage?
A holly jolly because I just opened a beverage.
Nice.
And funny story, I had put it in the freezer before we were recording our BS
Uh-oh.
because I realized that it hadn't been put in the refrigerator, so it wasn't cold.
Yeah.
Well, I just opened it and poured it into my glass, and it's slushy. So I'm having a slushy beer today.
Woo! You're just, it sounds very festive that it's slushy, though.
Yeah, it is, especially because it's called Santa's Bribe.
Ooh.
By Taft Brewing Company. Taft's, it's plural, Taft. And it is a Christmas cookie ale, which is an ale brewed with cinnamon, ginger, and vanilla.
That sounds lovely.
And it looks kind of like a Slurpee. What are you drinking over there?
So I have I hope I'm saying this right, Destil Brewery.
Oh, yeah, that sounds right.
It's one of their wild sour series. It's the Flanders Red. It's that Flanders style red ale. I just took a drink of it. I'm not sure, like, what it's supposed to taste like, but it tastes pretty nice. Obviously, it's a sour, right?
Yeah.
A little bit of cherry. But it also kind of has, like, a breakfast taste to it.
Oh, like a maple?
Like a biscuit, kind of caramely. I mean, I don't know anybody that drinks caramel or eats biscuits with caramel on them, but maybe they do. I don't know. And I just spun the can around, and it says it has like a dry wine-like finish, and that makes sense too. So it's kind of fruity, kind of sweet, but not, and obviously sour, but not overwhelming. So I think I like it. Good job, Distil Brewery.
I just realized I've got to read the side of this can to you.
Okay.
Because it says, leave this brew with hints of cinnamon, ginger, and vanilla on the mantle with care, and your heart's desire is what old Saint Taft will bear.
Ah, that's fun.
That is. I wonder if I could talk the kids into leaving beer for Santa this year.
Oh, you should try.
That would be super inappropriate. I won't do that. Just kidding.
I mean, yeah, what are you thinking? I won't try to teach my stepkids to leave wine for Santa.
Oh, man. Well, thanks, Elise Ferguson, for sponsoring our beers this episode. Cheers, lady.
Yeah, cheers. And welcome to We Drink and We Farm Things. Woo!
That's right.
I'm Sam.
And I'm Bev.
And this is the Farm Comedy Podcast where we drink and talk about farming things and make a shit ton of mistakes, then tell you all about them.
Yeah, we like to think that we have discussions that'll provide new knowledge and entertainment, and sometimes we go off on tangents. And speaking of tangents, if you really like them, our BS is up on the Patreon.
Yay! So you can check that out at patreon.com/drinkandfarm. We talked about, I felt like we were kind of all over the place today, but overall it did have a holiday theme, I think.
Yeah, it totally did. It was a very holiday themed BS session for sure.
Yes. So if you haven't listened to that yet, you can go over there and listen to that for free. But there is some other exclusive content on there that we give our Patreon supporters. And I think that starts at $2 a month. I feel like I should know for sure by now, but...
It totally does.
Okay. So you can go over there, and that's a great way to support the podcast and get a little bit of extra content.
And don't forget to take our survey. There is a link to it in the show notes. The survey helps us get new sponsors. So if you like this farm comedy podcast and you want to stick around, take the survey.
And join our Facebook group. We talk about it almost every single week, and we're up to... 96 members, it looks like.
Ooh, who wants to be number 100?
I know, right? So go over there and you'll have to answer a few quick questions to get in to make sure you're not a spam robot. And then we let you in and we have fun discussions over there. It's really interactive and just a lot of good vibes in there. So go check it out.
Yeah, and don't forget to review us in all the places. You can review us on Facebook, iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher. Where else can they review us?
on our Facebook page. That's a great spot too. If
Yeah.
you can't figure out how to review us on your podcast app, that's fine. You can go over there and rate us and review us on Facebook. And that's a super great way for you to support the podcast without paying a dime. Especially this time of year. Things can be a little tight. We get it. So if you want to support us but don't have any money to sign up for Patreon or, buy any of the shit Sam makes, you could go ahead and review us over on your podcast app.
Yep, that's right. Yeah, you can go to drinkandfarm.com, and that's where you can buy the stuff that Sam makes, which is really cool stuff.
Right.
She makes like insulated wine tumblers and acrylic wine tumblers and tea towels and all sorts of fun stuff.
Yeah, and we have a second merch shop open now too. First, shit Sam does not make. It's at drinkandfarmmerch.com, and we just got shirts and hoodies and camping cups, and they're really cute and come in 2 different designs, so you can go check those out.
Yeah, and in fact, by the time this drops, our fun little design that we talked about last week will actually be up. Sometimes Bev forgets to do things when she doesn't write them down, but Sam and I talked about it again, so it'll happen. I promise. Pinky swear.
Pinky swear, but it might happen again.
Pinky swear, no promises.
So do we have any follow-up this week?
We do. We have some follow-up. Thank you, Larry. We talk about Larry every episode now. So maybe
like
we should just invite Larry. Is Larry our Steven?
I was just going to say that. He just doesn't sit with us because we don't sit together.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, we don't sit together either, so that works.
No.
Yeah, Larry sent us a message and told us how to find the Coopcast. So I was making a couple of mistakes while I was looking for the Coopcast. Number one, I put Coopcast as 2 different words, but the Coopcast is one word. And I found it by just searching for Chicken Thistle Farm in my podcast app, and it popped up. And yeah, they've got like well over 100 episodes of backlog.
And it's legit. If you look up Chicken Thistle Farm, it comes up on podcast for Apple. So I just subscribed so I can go back. And if they decide to reignite everything and start posting again, I will be ready.
Somebody had posted, "Is this the right Coopcast?" And Larry was like, "Yeah, that's the right Coopcast." And she said, "Oh, good. She's super excited to listen to it." And he had warned that his wife hadn't really cared for it that much because she said it was boring. But I was like, no, that's good that there are podcasts out there for all different sorts of people that want to listen to different things.
Yeah.
That's why this episode, we specifically pointed out that we are a farm comedy podcast. Because, we're here to entertain the shit out of you. And you'll get to learn a couple of things. Whereas, the Coopcast, they run a legit, real big, hobby farming type of operation. And they actually, invite people to their farm, to learn things and, workshops and stuff. And maybe we'll be there someday. Who knows? I don't have a crystal ball, so I can't tell what the future holds.
You don't?
No, I don't.
I was going to ask to borrow it. Dang it.
So I thought now would be a good time to point out to everybody that we kind of started this because we were a little lonely in this hobby farming world. So this is your hobby farming happy hour.
Yeah.
We are here to spend time with you and make you laugh and have fun. So that's what we do.
And if you don't like us, that is totally okay.
Yeah, you can go learn real stuff from the Coopcast.
Yeah,
so there
real
you go.
Stuff from serious, very experienced, educated people. We're just trying to get day to day here.
Yes, someday we really are just getting by day to day. And speaking of day to day, I'm still trying to figure out why the heck Stephen Ray Morris is Stephen Ray Morris, the rooster, not Stephen Ray Morris, the editor of My Favorite Murder. Why he's limping.
Thank you for clearing that up, because I thought maybe you had captured him and put him in your basement or something, and you were telling him to put the lotion on the skin. I don't know, so.
Unfortunately, people would definitely notice if he was missing.
That's true. Okay.
Yeah, and Universal Studios would be sad that he wasn't showing up every day anymore. So there's that.
Yes.
But yeah, my rooster has been limping pretty much since day one, and it was really funny. I sent a freaked out text message to Sam that was like, God damn it, Stephen Ray Morris the rooster has Marek's disease.
It's not funny, but it's funny because I was at work and I saw that and I look at it and I go, no, he doesn't.
Yeah. That's why we're laughing, not because Marek's is funny.
No, Marek's is really not funny. Whoop. I said the F word.
That's all right.
Use the rooster.
Use the rooster. Yeah, because so Marek's disease, like one of the ways that it does present is that your chicken will not be using a whole leg. Look up in YouTube, chicken with Marek's limping, and you'll see like how a chicken that presents with Marek's will be behaving. Stevie Ray Morris is not quite doing that, and I tested his foot to make sure that it worked, and he can actually like move it and stuff, so it's not Marek's.
Oh, good.
And I made a note here to remind everybody that we do talk about Marek's. We mention it in episode 17, 19, 21, 22, and minisode 6. So we've talked about it. So we won't talk about Marek's anymore.
And if you missed it, you can go back. And because I know when I start a new podcast, I usually start with the latest. So if you need to backtrack, if you're interested in that content. My flock actually has avian leukosis, which is usually confused with Marek's, but pretty much equally as devastating, just very different in how they spread. So that's why we talked about it so much, because that's what I was going through during that time period. So Reader's Digest version.
The avian leukosis is mentioned, I think, in 17, 19, 21, and 22. Minisode 6 is the interview that we did with Country Fried Tina, who is the Instagrammer that had Tina the Silky that had Marek's disease.
Yeah.
So there's that. Yeah. Rest in peace, Tina.
But Stephen Ray Morris.
Stephen Ray Morris, the rooster. So I discovered while I was trying to figure out what exactly it was that chicks can actually develop a limp from having a vitamin deficiency. So I went and picked up a bottle of Rooster Booster from my local feed store. I'm going to try to be more precise with my vitamins next week. Rooster Booster just has like a ton of stuff in it. So I figured I'd like to like hit them with everything and see if it made a difference.
Right.
It hasn't made a difference so far. So that's why I think I need to be a little more specific. I'm thinking like vitamin B and vitamin E.
Okay.
So I'm going to try those and I'll let everybody know next week. But living out here, getting like specific vitamin dosages that I can actually give to a chicken is not the easiest thing. So I have to order them online or drive into town. And both of those things take time, unfortunately. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Which is why I went with the Rooster Booster to start with, because I thought, well, if it starts getting a little better, then maybe it is a vitamin thing. But so far, no difference whatsoever. But I'm trying to try everything. So I also just started him on that baby aspirin regimen that I had mentioned last episode. And I discovered something interesting. So it turns out we don't have baby aspirin in my tiny town.
Oh.
So, but regular aspirin. And I was like, oh, well, this isn't a big deal. I'll just have to cut it more because clearly baby aspirin is going to be just a smaller dose. Baby aspirin is a lot smaller dose. Baby aspirin is like 82 milligrams of aspirin. I don't even know what aspirin is exactly.
Yeah, it's 81. I'm saving you a corrections corner.
Thank you for that. Yeah, in the notes I put 80. See, I didn't even know what I was talking about.
I only know that because I used to check med lists at the hospital when I worked in research and had to go through meds, and I saw it constantly because if they recommend taking a baby aspirin if you're at risk for a heart attack or anything like that, because it's supposed to mitigate that. So that's why I know that.
Oh.
Fun facts with Sam. But now I guess there's research coming out saying that that's kind of bullshit. So I don't know if it actually works or not, but it is kind of surprising to me that your local pharmacy doesn't have it for that reason.
Well, yeah, maybe I just needed to ask the pharmacist, but if you know anything about me, I don't just walk up to people and ask questions. So
I don't either. So yeah.
I didn't find it on the shelf. So I was like, well, this is aspirin. This should be the same thing. It's not, because adult aspirin is 325 milligrams, which means I had to cut those pills into 8 slices.
Oh.
Which is not very easy. Yeah, because it's a half of baby aspirin that a chicken is supposed to get.
Okay.
So a half of a baby aspirin is an eighth of an adult aspirin. So what I did for his first dose is I only cut one pill into eighths, not all of them, because that would have been insane. And I crushed up the little eighth slice into a tiny dish with just a little bit of water. And I sucked all of that up in a little syringe. And then I gave it to him orally. And it was really easy. He got almost the whole dose. I'm sure some of it was lost, like on the inside of the syringe and in the bottom of the dish. But it felt like a pretty good way to give it to him.
Yeah.
Considering I don't have all the tools that I need. And he is still limping, unfortunately, even after the aspirin. So I'm going to keep doing it for a few days, though. Maybe he needs to build it up in his system, or maybe it takes a few days for the pain killing effects to settle in. I don't know.
I don't know if it has a buildup effect or not in the chicken, but yeah, it's definitely worth doing a couple days to see if it makes a difference.
Well, and maybe more of the dose stuck into the side of the dish and the syringe than I realized. So I'm kind of thinking next time I'm going to cut it into a 6 instead of an 8, since I know some of it gets lost.
Yeah.
And see if that, little bit higher dose will do it. I'm trying to be really careful because I'm not a vet.
Right.
I think a lot of people that have animals aren't vets, but they're just kind of doing their best. So I've started very conservatively with my dosing of off-label use of aspirin.
I feel like a lot of medications for chickens or things that we use for chickens are off-label.
Oh, yeah. And goats, too. Almost everything for goats is an off-label
yeah.
use. Nobody makes anything for dairy goats or Nigerian dwarf goats. It's insane. Or maybe it's not insane. It's just business.
Yeah, maybe a little bit of both.
Maybe. But unfortunately, if he keeps limping, I'm going to have to try to figure out what's wrong. He might just have a deformity in his hip, and
Right.
I can't tell because I don't have any of the roosters. Maybe you can come palpitate him for me in March.
Yeah, also not a vet, but I can try.
Yeah, I mean, you've touched a lot more roosters than I have, so there's that.
That is my hunch, is that he has a deformity because he had spraddle leg. And maybe
Yeah.
it just didn't set 100% correctly, which happens. But if it's not preventing him from roosting or getting around, he's probably okay. He's probably used to it. But I think it's smart to try to rule out the vitamin deficiency. And if the aspirin helps, if there is some pain, then great. So I think you're taking all the correct steps.
Yeah, we'll see. I did tell my husband, on the bright side, he probably can't spur us in the face with a limp.
That's true.
So he has that going for him right now.
Yeah, because I have a rooster right now that keeps spurring me in the ass. So
So yay.
better than my face because there's more cushion back there, but still not appreciated.
Yeah. Now it's honey and root corner.
Yes. It was so cool because I got it the same day as I got my Drinkin' Farm merch. So it was like a ton of Happy Mail all at once.
I always love it when that happens. The stars aligned and the post office all showed up at the same time. And
Yes. There was some pretty cool stuff in there this month, though.
Yeah, I actually have the box here right now. So I get to actually pull everything out while we talk about it, which is extra exciting. But this Baby It's Cold Outside mug is just like the bee's knees.
It's pretty adorable.
Yeah. Anything to keep more trash out of the landfill. And in fact, my husband picked this up and he's like, "Ooh, good. You got another coffee mug." Yes, keep your hands off of it because it's mine.
This is mine. And, I thought it was very appropriate that there was a chicken wire star ornament, considering we both have, farm trees now. So I was super excited that I had that, and I can't wait to put it on my tree.
Oh, that was the first thing that I grabbed out. It went straight onto the tree because I was like, farm tree ornaments.
Yay!
And then we got something in the box that was the same that we got, or that we also received last December, which I found super helpful. And it's this coop refresher from Sweet PDZ. So the reason why it's so awesome to get this, or maybe it wasn't December, maybe it was when we traveled for the Ale Fest. I can't remember. But anyways, it manages to be that a week that I'm going on a trip and somebody else is going to be taking care of the chickens, I haven't had time to clean the coop. So, like this
Oh.
coop refresher, I just dump it underneath the roost if I'm just going to be gone for a few days, and it instantly freshens the coop for the person that's going to come and take care of them for me while I'm gone. And then I can just clean it out when I get back, and I always
So
feel
you
better.
can like pretend that chicken shit doesn't smell.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
Exactly.
And I'm telling that story because I want to remind everybody that I'm not a perfect chicken keeper and my chickens do shit. And I don't always get to clean the coop as often as I want to. But things like this help us limp by just a little longer.
Yes. And I think it's especially difficult this time of year because there's not as much daylight. So if you do work full time like we do, your only option is on the weekend, and sometimes you're busy on the weekend. So yeah, I was definitely glad to see that in there. And I think it's a very good time of the year to send that to us.
Absolutely.
Oh, and we got a hen greeting card that's like holiday themed, so that's super appropriate. We got one last December too, and I still have it around here somewhere because it was too cute and I didn't want to share and send it. So now I'm gonna have two that I'm probably not gonna send.
That you're going to hoard all for yourself.
Yeah, I should hang them up in my office so I can just stare at them.
Oh, that's a great idea. Just like a little frame and pop them in.
Yeah, or I was
Genius.
just thinking I could like tack them to the board or something.
Oh, yeah, that works too. I mean,
I'm not
we're
that classy.
we're not trying to get super fancy. Like, you make yourself buy a frame for them and it'll never get done, right?
Exactly.
And I was laughing about this deviled egg seasoning mix because I totally don't have any eggs right now. But it'll be useful this spring when I have eggs again.
We have eggs, but I can't eat them. So,
Oh, yeah.
or I have a hunch that I probably could, but I've been thinking about just making some anyways for the holidays and just taking them to one of the parties I have to go to. So it'll come in handy for that.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Well, I don't have any eggs right now because the ladies are all mad at me because I integrated new chicken. So they're on strike. They should start giving me eggs again in about a week or so when everybody settles their stuff back down.
They just need to calm their feathers.
That is exactly it. And we also got a little tub of this Hun Healer multi-purpose ointment, which
yeah.
is super awesome.
Chickens are klutzes and they're mean to each other. So we need more first aid items because they're assholes.
Yeah, they are. Sometimes they pick at each other, especially since I'm like integrating chickens right now. So if we end up with like some minor cuts and whatnot from that, I have this to take care of it. And it also helps with like chapping and dry skin. So like overall winter dryness, like big combs and wattles.
Yeah.
They get damaged by cold, dry wind. And this will help with that. Hooray. And we also got some chicken nipple waters. They're like the little nipple mounts for like a sideways mount, which will be perfect to use in time for spring chicks.
When you said chicken nipples, I was like, excuse me. And then I remembered what was in the box because I don't have it in front of me. But I was like, chicken nipples?
You're like,
What?
excuse me?
Chickens do not have nipples. They do not lactate.
No, you cannot milk a chicken. Don't try. They don't like it.
No.
And then we also got some organic cracked corn from Scratch and Peck. I love Scratch and Peck stuff. So
Me too.
that is always exciting. And the last thing that came in the box was the Backyard Poultry Chicken Breed Guide.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't get a chance to talk to Sam about it, but I thought maybe this January we would record a mini-sode all around it.
Ooh.
Talking about chicken breeds and whatnot just in time for spring chick ordering. So
Oh, that's so timely.
it is. It's so timely. Like it's pretty cool that this came in. Not that I need to order any more chicks or anything, but do any of us?
My husband told me you don't need any more, but then I reminded him that some of the ones that I got didn't make it while they were like growing into adult chickens. So I was like, I kind of need to replace those ones. But he kind of was like, rah, rah, rah. So then I told him I was going to get Sebastopol geese instead. And I think that might change his tune because he would have to build something probably.
And don't they live for like 40 years?
Shh, we're not going to talk about that.
Okay.
But hey, they're worth their weight, right? So they're not cheap. If you don't know what Sebastopol geese are, you should go look them up. They're pretty fabulous looking geese.
Pretty fabulous looking geese.
They look like they wear tutus. How could you not want them?
Sebastopol geese? I don't know how to spell this.
Sebastopol.
Oh my God. I need these
Right?
so bad.
See? And I
What?
think My Pet Chicken has them now.
Oh no.
And I think another hatchery has them too. So they're not cheap though. I think it's like if you get straight run, they're like $70-$80 a bird. And if you get them
Really?
sexed, they're like 120.
Well, these are just glorious.
But I need some and and you know what? Since I can't do hatching eggs and shit for my chickens, I can just do those.
Yeah.
There you go.
Perfect.
And then we can do a mini-sode all about geese. See, just tell Jared you need them for the podcast.
I need everything for the podcast.
We do. Yes, we do.
Raise your hand if you have a chicken molting in December.
Ooh, me. Thank goodness for Grubblies, though.
Yeah, because Grubblies can help your flock get through a molt faster because they are high in protein. They also have the right amount of calcium and phosphorus to meet their nutritional needs.
And guess what? If you're too busy to remember to keep your Grubbly stock sufficient for your molting birds, Grubbly Farms offers a monthly subscription option so you never run out of grubs and never have to witness a case of #resting beak face from your flock.
Subscription orders always ship free and save you 10%. And you can skip a month or cancel at any time. So head over to grubblyfarms.com and use code FARM15 to save 15% off your first order or the first month of your subscription. So we have a 2018 Farm Bill.
Woo! Yeah! That's exciting, right?
I mean, it depends on who you talk to. Some people love the Farm Bill. Some people love to hate the Farm Bill. So,
And some people just like to point out that the first deadline was September 30th and they just now passed it. And that would be me.
yeah, I think we have definitely talked about that. But we found some cool, interesting, weird tidbits from the Farm Bill. So we thought we'd talk about some of those.
We did. And I just wanted to point out that for how long it took them to get this passed, the vote was 386 to 47. So this is like very bipartisan and very expensive. It's $867 billion. But I did some digging on that, and that's actually a baseline for what it should be. So it's not like they went like way above or way under. So that's just normal.
Par for the course, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, and like those vote numbers kind of tell you that there's something in it for everybody, I suppose.
Right.
So there's something everyone loves and something everyone hates.
Exactly. And, if you want more details, you can go do your research, but there's a shit ton of stuff in there. And like Bev said, we just wanted to talk about the kind of weird stuff that stuck out to us. So, item number 1, Puerto Rico cockfighting.
Yeah, the Farm Bill outlawed cockfighting in Puerto Rico.
Which, you know what? I think we're like, hooray on first glance of that because, from our American, viewpoint, it's probably a lot like pit bull fighting. Kind of like unnecessary and like, why the hell is this still happening? And it should be illegal and blah, blah, blah. Not that dog fighting isn't illegal, but you get what I mean. In our brains, it's kind of like, oh, okay, this shouldn't be a thing anymore.
Well, yeah, and it was really interesting. Like, when I first heard it, I was like, oh, good, because, we have chickens now, and obviously I don't want my rooster fighting somebody else's rooster. That sounds really awful and horrible to me. But then, after reading this article, I was like, oh, well, but there are a few issues with it.
Right.
And then I read a Vice article, and I'll link to that in the show notes also. We sort of have, like, a gut problem in this country as well, because, like, yeah, we saved some roosters in Puerto Rico from having to fight anymore, but like all of our meat chickens are treated like 100 times more horribly than this. But like this is what we're worried about. So
right, or it's just like the prop that passed in California where they're like, yeah, we should give these birds more space, and it actually like limits the amount of space they were getting compared to what the rule was before. It's that whole gut thing and not like really thinking about it. So cockfighting is a centuries-old tradition in Puerto Rico, and it dates back to the early days of the Spanish colony. And Puerto Rico is only 100 miles long, but there are nearly 80 cockfighting clubs within there that are regulated by Puerto Rico's central government.
Yeah, and cockfighting is an $18 million economic activity in Puerto Rico, and it provides jobs for 30,000 people.
Right. And so once this bill is signed in a couple of days, it's going to shut all that shit right down. So there is a ripple effect to that, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's going to be a ripple effect in their economy, and they're already, recovering from a hurricane and a bunch of other shit because it feels like Puerto Rico is always kind of getting like the short end of the staff because this is another regulation that we put on them without consulting the voters because they don't get to vote even though they're
Right.
a U.S. territory.
Right. So there was somebody like hanging out there that is kind of a member of Congress, but they don't get to vote. And she clearly was upset about this. And because she came from there, she knows like how bad this is actually going to be for everybody involved.
Yeah, and I thought it was interesting that this article interviewed Kitty Block from the Humane Society of the United States. She said that cruelty is not culture, and that is true. Cruelty is not culture. I think everybody would agree with that. But I want to point out that the Humane Society of the United States is not the same as your local Humane Society that saves dogs and cats or runs shelters. That's not what this organization is. It's basically another PETA.
Right. Right. So it was kind of misleading in that article, I think. So
Yeah, I think it was too. That's why I wanted to point that out.
Right.
So I was like, wait, most of our listeners aren't going to know that. I only know that because I volunteered within like the dog rescue world. So I was like, wait, Humane Society of the United States, that's not the Humane Society. Like they should not be allowed to have that name.
right. And when I hear cruelty is not culture, I totally agree. Like you have the Yulin Dog Meat Festival in China every year where they like sacrifice dogs and it's really nasty and they eat them, and that's a cultural thing that, we don't see as cool here. Little more extreme than cockfighting, in my opinion. But this Kitty Black person did say, like, in the extreme cases, I'm guessing, of cockfighting, sometimes they, like, weaponize their chickens or their roosters. And it is said that roosters will fight to the death if they're put in that situation. But later in this article, it does say we never let the roosters fight to that point if we can avoid it. So...
Yeah, because like the roosters are worth money to them.
Right.
They don't, yeah.
Like this one person they interviewed said that they charge their owners $5 per week per bird, which doesn't probably sound like a lot for us. But if you got quite a few birds that you're taking care of for somebody, that adds up quick. And that's how you feed your family. So I do think it's important to acknowledge that even if we don't agree with how this is run or that this is a sport or part of their culture, like you gotta kind of take steps to eliminate this sort of thing. It's not always the best thing to just like write it off and say, okay, this is just going to be better in general.
Yeah, because like one of the things that he pointed out was that, well, number one, we've got 30,000 people in the industry that aren't going to have jobs anymore, likely.
Right.
But also like it's just kind of driving it underground because it is something that's in their culture for this generation. So they're going to keep doing it anyways, which is only going to make the birds' living conditions likely less desirable and also make it more dangerous, like for everybody involved. Yeah.
It's not going to be regulated at that point if it just goes to underground, which I don't know what the regulation is like now in Puerto Rico for that. I didn't do any research on that, but they said that there's probably like 1 million roosters. So that's a lot of rooster to get rid of. And what are they going to do? Like set them free? No, because they'll just kill each other. And 1 million roosters in a 100-mile island, like not going to work out. So the federal agents will probably just raid the farms, take them, and then kill the chicken. And I would hope that they would use the meat if they could, but we don't know if they will or they won't.
Yeah, we have no idea. Like, I'm sure that would be the intent, but like even our dog food has like regulations. So you can't take, how many roosters was it? I don't even remember anymore.
A million?
You can't take 1 million roosters from a U.S. territory and suddenly like turn them into dog food because it's not how our food safety regulations work, even in like, the feed and livestock industry. So unfortunately, they'll probably just go to waste.
Exactly.
That's my guess. Yeah.
And some of those roosters, I was looking at the pictures in the NPR article, and some of them are like skinnier and kind of fancier looking roosters that don't even have enough meat on their bones to probably be worth their life, in my opinion. Unless you were going to do something like make dog food. But I digress.
Yeah, and it was really interesting because when I first read this, I was like, yeah, good for them. Get rid of cockfighting because it sounds really awful. But now I am just sort of feeling a lot of empathy. So, I mean, a lot of our listeners might not totally agree, and that's totally fine. I mean, because it is a really unsavory idea. It's something that I would never want to participate in or do, like by any means. But
I think it just goes to show that sometimes you need to really think through these things. And is it something I think they should get rid of? Absolutely. But I think it should be like over the course of like 5 years and then assistance for people to get them different jobs, not just, you're going to be done with this in a year and good luck figuring it out. Like that's really shitty. I don't care who you are. That's shitty.
Yeah, it really is. And I mean, we do that with a lot of industries though. And it sucks.
Yep.
There's no other way to put that. It just sucks.
Yeah. So yay for the roosters, not really yay for America.
Puerto Rico.
Probably not even yay for the roosters though.
Yeah, that's true. Yay for the Humane Society of the United States for finally following through on one of their promises.
Yeah, yay for future unborn roosters in Puerto Rico. I don't know.
I think that just means that they won't be born.
Probably.
But we get to talk about something way more fun next.
Yeah, we do. Something that I saw this article and I was like, oh, do we want to talk about this? But then I was like, did some more research and I was like, yeah, we can talk about it. It's fine. So the Farm Bill also legalized growing industrial hemp.
Woohoo! Does this mean that I get to get high and eat a lot of pizza?
Not unless you're a total lightweight.
I might be. I don't know.
So before we get started, I did do some Googling and I was like, are hemp and marijuana the same?
I'm so glad you did that because I was going to have to do that because I had no idea.
The answer is no. But they're both in the same cannabis family. So hemp is not psychoactive. It contains less than 0.3% THC. And it's actually very low maintenance and easy to grow. And it can be used to create automobile parts, body care, clothing, construction supplies, food, plastic, etc. Now,
and you know what? All of those uses of it is probably why it was listed as a Schedule 1 controlled substance, because all of those other industries that, like use other substances for it, like lobbied for it. They're like, hey, this is a weed plant, so like you can't.
Oh, Bev, that is so cynical of you.
I know that is. Isn't that terrible?
Am I rubbing off on you?
Are you so proud of me?
I actually, that wouldn't surprise me. But another thing that I saw was that because of the war on drugs, they lumped it into the same boat as marijuana because it comes from the cannabis family and they just didn't understand it.
And that's probably one of the things that happens too.
I think it's both.
Yeah.
But now that you mention that is cynical enough for me to believe. So, and just to review, marijuana is psychoactive. It contains 5% to 35% THC, is very difficult to grow if you don't have the right conditions, and is used for medical and recreational purposes if you were not aware. So this is great news for farmers because this is a new crop for them to grow. And because it has like 25,000 uses, no exaggeration, it's very versatile and probably just overall good for our economy, right? So
yeah, I would think so, especially like right now when all we hear is that farming is having a tendency to not be as profitable as it used to be, even though now we have like way less farmers and way more people using things that farmers create. It just kind of gives it's another commodity essentially.
Right, exactly. But in one of the articles that I read, it was pointed out that this could potentially replace the tobacco acreage that has fallen by nearly 90% over the last century. So, since that's kind of a dying field, no pun intended, this might be able to like invigorate some farmers or bring on new farmers because they have this option to grow and farm this very versatile plant. The bad news is that it's very expensive to get started. It's like $1 a seed.
Wow, that is spendy.
But it says the return cost for a farmer can be between $400 and $500 an acre for fiber production. I don't know if that's good or not. I didn't really look up what like corn or soybeans are per acre, but the article said it, so it must be true, right? Because it's on the internet.
Yes,
So,
the internet said it. It's true. We're going to go with that.
yeah.
We'll correct ourselves next week if we're wrong.
Yeah, maybe we'll do a little follow-up. Sam can do some more Googling.
Yeah.
But this isn't going to be a free-for-all. So like most things, the feds have kind of this overview of the regulatory power, but the state's going to say in it too. So the states can come up with their own programs for growing hemp, submit that for approval by the USDA. They say yes or no. If a state doesn't create its own plan, the hemp producers will be at default to the federally run program.
Okay. Well, and like states can choose to participate or not participate if it's not in their political climate's best interest to allow it.
Right. But and that'll be interesting to see how that shakes out, if maybe some more conservative states still just don't understand the difference between marijuana and hemp, even though they could just Google it. You know, but it was kind of amazing because this article I was reading, there were people on both sides of the fence saying this is great. You know, so it was truly bipartisan. It did dig into a little bit of like legalizing marijuana and blah, blah, blah. Completely different topic, in my opinion.
I did. I saw that at the bottom of the article. I was like, these are not the same thing. And now that I understand
this is off topic.
So it's so funny. I'm glad that you had mentioned all of that stuff about like whether hemp or marijuana were the same. So I like to be totally honest on this podcast and not pretend like I'm something I'm not. Or like I know stuff that I don't know, but for some reason, and I don't remember where I got this, but I had always been under the impression that hemp was a byproduct of the actual marijuana plant. So I thought that was why we didn't use hemp for things, was because I thought that like the leaves and the flowers were the actual marijuana that had the THC, and that the stalks that the plant grew on was what hemp was.
Nope, it was just it. You know what? And I had to look up the difference. I knew there was a difference. I just didn't know what it was until really today. So I don't think I'm not in the same boat as you on that.
Well, because it's something that wasn't allowed, like unless you were working in that industry, because that industry has like opened up, you know, on so many levels in so many states. Like it might not be something, it's not knowledge that you would have just stumbled across. Maybe.
Right. Unless you're just very interested in cannabis, which you might be. And I have no judgment here. So CBD products are really hot right now too. This bill also does not broadly legalize CBD products, because there are CBD products that have higher levels of THC than others, from what I understand. But if it contains CBD derived from locally produced industrial hemp, it'll be fine. So that's still a little bit of a weird gray area, because CBD is said to like help with tons of different things for humans, for animals.
Yeah, I've talked about getting the CBD dog biscuits for Colette because she has like super high anxiety. We're going to start a Thunder shirt first, though.
Aww.
Give that a try. Kind of like the weighted blanket we talked about.
You should, send it to me and I can put the Drinkin' Farm logo on it.
There we go. That's what I'll do. I'll totally do that. And then I use CBD oil as a... what's what I'm looking for? When I was having all the issues with my hip and my back, it sort of numbs that area. Yeah, it's a pain reliever. It's sort of like a BioFreeze. It works the same. Yeah.
But yeah, so hemp is going to be legal to farm, and I'm excited to see where that goes.
Yeah, I am too. And I'm excited to see if it does bring more people into farming. I'm sure that there will be like... So this is probably, and we're all just speculating here. Sam and I don't actually know anything about like farming futures or like commodities or how any of that works.
Right.
But like I have a feeling like there are specific ways that it has to be planted and harvested and then like prepped for market. So that's going to open up a whole nother avenue to like build more farm specific implements or equipment, which is gonna like bring a boost to those industries. Like it feels like adding something new is just going to be good for everybody all around.
Exactly. I
Yeah.
agree.
I mean, I'm not sure that it's gonna create as many jobs as they think it is though, because farming is still really hard work and there's still not a lot of people that are willing to do it.
Yes, I agree with that, but then I wonder if the hipsters will like the idea of hemp.
Yeah, I mean, that's a possibility. And if the tractor is air conditioned and they can keep wearing their stocking caps and their beards in it all summer long, then it'll be okay.
It might work out in their flannel. It'll be great. And then they can go home and crack open a PBR.
There we go. Yeah, not they can't have their PBR while they're farming because that would be drinking and
No.
farming at the same time, which is something that we don't condone.
Not with heavy machinery, no.
Nope. Well, we did have another food recall, which
We
you know is something
did.
we like to bitch about.
Dun, dun, dun.
We should just make our bitchy and salty corner all about food recalls.
Yes, because there seem to be happening more frequently. But I do think with this one seems like a better safe than sorry kind of thing. So this is one of the farms that also had the romaine lettuce outbreak. So a couple weeks ago, remember, nobody could eat romaine lettuce for Thanksgiving. So it's that same farm, and they seem to be working with the FDA to do this out of an abundance of caution. So it's the Adams Brothers Farming Inc. So they're recalling red leaf lettuce, green leaf lettuce, and cauliflower that was harvested between November 27th and November 30th of this year. And it turns out that they discovered that sediment from a reservoir nearby where the produce was grown tested positive for E. coli. Womp, womp, womp.
Well, and what I found so confusing about this recall is that they say that none of the reservoir water that was used to water these crops came up positive, and none of the crops have come up positive. So I found the whole thing just a little confusing.
Yeah, it seems a little shady town to me. Like, are you hiding something? Is this to make you look maybe just better because of the last time it happened? And maybe you thought something was missed this time. Like, it just was a little weird to me. Maybe they're just trying to help their image to look better, that they really care about the consumers, so they're really freaking paying attention this time.
Well, and I'm trying to figure out who still has red leaf lettuce and green leaf lettuce that was harvested between November 27th and November 30th. Like, that shit lasts for like 3 seconds.
I said that to my husband, and he just looked at me and he's like, that's old. And this article that I pulled was from yesterday, which was December 15th.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that just makes me wonder what they spray it with to preserve it for that long.
I mean, or maybe they don't. Maybe, like you said, this is just for an image thing, and they know that all of these products aren't on the shelves anymore.
Yeah, that's true.
The cauliflower might still be.
Yeah, it just seems like this was a little, like, late if you're recalling something from what, like 2-3 weeks ago.
That has like a 4-day shelf life. Yeah. I don't know.
That's why I struggle with gardening, because I mean, it all grows at the same time and I can't eat it all at once. So
You have to succession plant.
I know. I'm just bad at this gardening thing, man.
We'll talk about more of it as it ramps up into the springtime.
Yeah, because you can't trust the stuff that you get from the grocery store, apparently. So I better frickin' figure it out.
Well, I mean, and this wasn't like the only food recall from the week either. Like there was like canned corn and what else got recalled this week? Like I don't have articles for all of them in front of me, but
Yeah, but you know what like never gets recalled? Chocolate. So
don't jinx it.
I'm knocking on wood.
I'm gonna do it too. Listener, knock on wood. We cannot have chocolate get recalled because I'm sorry, cake mix got recalled earlier, so we can't have that either.
That's true.
I mean, one of my favorite articles from the last several years was "Don't eat raw cookie dough," and it's not because of the eggs; it's because the flour had salmonella. Like of all things,
God.
like I mean, yeah. Basically, that's what we're dealing with.
Yeah, I ate raw cookie dough today because I live on the edge. So
Yeah, I ate some yesterday because I've been making those cookies that, have you seen the Facebook video? It's like a time lapse video of making these Christmas chocolate chip cookies. And it's
no.
Christmas sprinkles and white chocolate chips and milk chocolate chips.
Ooh.
Yeah, I'll put a link to the recipe in the show notes because it is so good. She tells you that you can't double it. I double it every time and it turns out just fine and everybody loves them. I'm like, I can't take credit for these cookies. I got them off of Facebook, but they're amazing.
Yeah, Bev just using recipes like guidelines once again.
Yeah. No, I actually follow this recipe because it doesn't have a lot of ingredients in it, so it keeps my attention. You'll have to listen to the BS if you want to hear more about our baking talking.
Yes.
Well, so we haven't done a call for farm stories in quite a while.
Oh, yeah.
And I wanted to frame it in a different way so that maybe somebody's brain would be like, oh, hey, wait, I have something to share. Like, so if you have a story from your farm that you think other listeners could laugh at or learn from, or you just want to make somebody's day or warm their heart, like, we want to hear it. I know we originally just said like funny stories because we are technically a farm comedy podcast, but like from interacting with people in our group and whatnot, like I've sort of learned that everybody has a story. It just might not be a funny story. So we want to tell all of your stories.
Yeah. That is actually a really good point. I'm glad you brought that up because I had so much fun reading everybody else's stories because it does make you realize you're not in this all by yourself. So make sure you guys send those to us via DM on Instagram. We're Drink and Farm over there. Or you can email them to us at drinkandfarm@gmail.com.
Yeah, that's right. And we will read them. Maybe we'll put them together into like a themed episode where we're doing like a mini-sode and we talk about something specific. We might do a call out for specific types of stories. But right now, I just want to try to get some stories in because I was thinking about this week why we started this podcast, because last week when we got off, when we got done recording, I was done and I closed my laptop and I felt like I had just gotten to go out and have happy hour with a friend.
Aww.
And like we don't get to have that very often, because we live in the middle of nowhere.
Exactly.
So I wanted to remind everybody like why this is here and what it's for. It's because we're a community of people that just don't take ourselves that seriously, but we kind of want to learn and we kind of want to talk about farming and we want to laugh and we want to socialize. So there.
Right. Yeah. Oh, I do want to mention this because it was really funny. And you can cut this and just put it on the Patreon. I don't care.
Okay.
But I did already tell you about this yesterday, but I think it's kind of on that, on the same note of what you were just saying. So somebody ran me down at the grocery store yesterday because they recognized me from Instagram and he was just so excited. And it kind of threw me off because usually when I'm at the store, like I'm focused, I want to get in and out. People are just ignorant and are like in the way and I'm like grouchy, but it totally brightened my day, not just because he recognized me, but because it was like, oh, there are other people around here that are like me and like-minded and they're younger and they're homesteading and maybe they don't know what they're doing and they're just learning. And he's very much like posting what he's learning. Over on his Instagram, he's Burly
Bird Gets the Worm.
Yeah, Burly Bird Gets the Worm. If you want to go check him out, he's doing all this like cool electrical stuff in his house. So he's just trying to figure it out too. And it just totally brightened my day. And we started talking about maybe doing something locally with a group of other Instagram homesteaders. And then I name dropped Bev in the podcast, of course, because I would want her there too, because I'm an introvert and I want to at least know one person.
I mean, there is strength in numbers. Like,
yes, exactly. So I think that hearing everybody's stories, no matter if they're happy or sad or like a learning moment, just reinforces that we're not alone and it's not just me and Bev talking to each other every week so we feel a little less lonely. Like, you guys are out there too.
Yeah. Well, and you guys are out there like for each other also.
Yes, especially in the Facebook group. That is
Oh,
very clear in that group.
yeah. I mean, for sure. If you have not joined our Facebook group yet, like seriously, go do it. Even if you're not on Facebook, like create a profile just so you can be in that group. Ignore your crazy grandma's political posts. Don't friend your weird uncle that only posts, I don't know. I was going to say cat memes, but I like cat memes. So
Yeah, maybe like questionably racist things.
yeah, there we go. Yeah, ignore all those people. Don't let them be your friends. Just be in the group. You'll be fine.
Yeah. You can friend me and Bev probably, and it'd be fine.
Yeah, that would be fine. Well, thanks for listening, guys.
Yeah, this is We Drink and We Farm Things. And like I said before, you can follow us on Instagram at Drink and Farm. You can also use the hashtag Drink and Farm on Instagram. So post a picture of you safely drinking and farming, and we feature 1 to 2 of those a week over on our Instagram.
So drink
Farm
and give 0 clucks. Bye, guys.
Bye.